in Auschwitz.
Yeah, I just finished the first part of the tour actually because we were in a hurry this morning to catch the bus.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know how this vlog is going to turn out because I felt like it would be disrespectful to film most of the places. You know, this is a memorial, not a tourist attraction. And well, how can I define how I feel right now? It's just flabbergasted at the horror. And
we're in the smaller part of Auschwitz, and even the numbers here, it's insane.
It's insane. But I find it more important than ever to come here now because bigotry and neo-Nazis seem to be on the rise, not just here in Europe, you know, with all these populist politicians being really prejudiced, but also in the US, as we've seen in Charlottesville, in Brazil as well. So these are really weird times, and so I think it's more important than ever for us to remember this, because a lot of what's happening nowadays is because of ignorance. People just don't know. Maybe they don't read enough history books, but if you have the chance to come here, please do. And this is the reason why I'm doing a vlog today, because I think that, you know, most people should know more about this, should learn more about this, and if I can do my part, well, this is my part.
Before I start talking about the camp though, I'd like to begin by showing some of the victims' faces, because each one of the 1 million people that were killed in this place was someone like you and me, with hopes and dreams, family, friends. When one talks about Auschwitz and Birkenau, it's so easy to get caught up in the staggering numbers, but depriving these people of their identity and considering them as nothing but numbers is exactly what the Nazis did. The tour starts in front of the famous gate that says work sets you free, but that was a big fat lie, because if you worked hard in this place, you would die from exhaustion in just a few months. All the prisoners got to eat every day was a piece of bread and watery soup. These are the barracks in which prisoners would sleep. They slept in triple bunk beds with at least 2 men per bed. And this is how the rooms look like without all the beds. So as you can see, there's absolutely no heating for the winter time. And all they had to wear were these really thin pajamas. When the prisoners arrived, the Germans would take all their possessions and send the things they deemed useful to Germany. These shoes are just from the prisoners that arrived here in the last 4 days before the Germans left the camp to escape from the Russians. Each barrack had a leader, usually just a common criminal, not a Jew, who would be responsible for the others. And this person got a better room, like this one, and a little bit more food.
What appalls me the most is just how this was an experiment, and how in extreme conditions you just try to save yourself, you know? So the guys that managed like each one of the blocks, they were prisoners themselves, and they were pretty cruel too.
Yeah.
Because they needed to be cruel in order to maintain their position. They needed to show to the Nazis that they were doing a good job so that they could survive.
And this is the bathroom that hundreds of prisoners had to share every morning without soap or anything. So as you can imagine, diseases would spread really quickly. One thing I didn't know is that many Jews were tricked into going to Auschwitz. Germans sold fake houses and train tickets telling them that Auschwitz was actually a good place. So that's why there are things like combs and cosmetics in their luggage. These are all facial cream tins. Most of them got sent immediately to the gas chambers upon arrival, and these are just a few of the victims' names. And this is Zyklon B, the substance they used in the gas chambers. 6 kilos of it are enough to kill 2,000 people, and they use 12 kilos of it every day.
10 people, you have an idea. 100 maybe, 1,000, it just gets weird because you
just cannot conceptualize, you cannot visualize.
In Auschwitz there were 1.1 million people killed.
Yeah.
I think.
And she said like 4,000 people in the crematory each day.
Every day? Yeah.
Every day. Yeah, you just cannot grasp it. It's
just too much.
It's just way too much. Yeah, it's like a whole village. Or
yeah.
Well, how many people live in Utrecht?
In Utrecht there's about 350,000 people living, so in Auschwitz they killed 3.5 times Utrecht.
Utrecht. Yeah, it's just you cannot. You just can't. You can't even.
I can't even. No.
Yeah.
After that, we took a shuttle bus to Birkenau, where women, children, and those considered unfit for work got sent. They arrived in train wagons for cattle like this one. Imagine traveling like this for days. They slept in cheap wooden barracks like this one, so in worse conditions than those who got sent to Auschwitz. These barracks were originally made for horses, with a capacity of 52 horses per barrack, but the Nazis made 700 people sleep there, 6 to 8 people per bed. There were no mattresses, they all slept on straw, and again, just imagine how cold this would be in the winter. This is the bathroom. No privacy, no dignity, no toilet paper or running water. The prisoners assigned to clean these latrines by hand every day consider it a good job, because at least they were indoors and so more protected from the cold outside. Another job people would consider themselves lucky to get was at Canada, the place where they went through the belongings of those who arrived. This is what's left of it. It got this nickname Canada because prisoners considered the country to be a place of hope and freedom.
One of my friends met the survivor. She told her she was in Birkenau, her best friend was working her in Canada, and when she had birthday, her friend smuggled for her toilet paper. Toilet paper, she said, it was the best present she had ever got. People dreamed about such things like soap, toilet paper. It was something luxurious. I met the survivor Halina Birkenau. She lives in Israel. She was a child when the war broke out. She was deported here from Warsaw. The girl spent 2 years in Birkenau, and she said she survived only because she worked here in Canada. She could steal some food.
Before fleeing the camps, the Nazis made sure to destroy the gas chambers to try and cover up what they were doing. This is how they left it. And this is how it used to look like. Right beside it, there's a monument paying respects to the victims in all the languages they spoke. It was really moving, and it also reminded me of yet another difficulty prisoners faced in here, the language barrier. As we finished our 6-hour tour, the only thing we could think about was that this was not so long ago. Some survivors are still alive, and similar atrocities still happen, although on a smaller scale. And why? All for power and money? Or because people are brainwashed into thinking they're better than others? But our tour guide also reminded us that the end of the war only meant the beginning of yet another sad chapter for Poland.
In 1947, Polish government set up the museum because places like this one should be warning for people. But if you see what's going on in the world, people didn't learn anything. For us, the end of the war had a very bitter taste. Stalin, Roosevelt and Churchill divided Europe into two. We were behind Iron Curtain. No one asked us where we wanted to be. Eastern Europe was a reward for Stalin, for his war efforts. For us it was another occupation, the Soviet occupation till 1989, when we became independent country. That half of Poland, which was under the Soviet occupation, never came back to us. Instead of that, Stalin gave us some land on the west. Our borders moved, changed a lot, but we lost more land than Germany. After the war there was Cold War. The Americans needed the Germans on their side to keep balance in Europe. They helped them to rebuild country. No one was interested in punishing the Nazis. Some of them became the politicians, the professors. So sometimes I think that not the Germans lost the war. Poland lost independence for another 45 years. The other countries developed, we had to build the Soviet Union. Our way to freedom was long and difficult.
Okay, so this is the end of our video. I hope I've been able to make it in the most respectful and sensitive way possible. If you guys want some more information about Auschwitz and everything that happened here, I have a book to recommend you guys. I've been reading Primo Levi's If This Is a Man. He's an Italian Jew that survived Auschwitz and tells the whole story of his journey. I'm also gonna write a post on my blog with more books and movies that you can watch to get more information about this, because as I said before, I think the main problem is that people are not aware of what happened here. They don't have enough information, they don't read enough history books, and this is something that needs to be remembered in order not to happen again.